if you are looking for a 2-room Flexi BTO flat in the November BTO exercise this time round, then you need to watch this video because I will explain the 2-room flat requirements for the application and also help you analyze the Choa Chu Kang site location for you so that you don't have to. Hey guys, welcome back to Honey Money SG, and in this channel we are all about building financial knowledge, share money saving hacks, and also help you lead a fulfilling quality of life. So welcome back, brand new season of the BTO analysis, and if this is not the first time that you are seeing me for BTO videos, hello again. I hope the next time I don't see you all again, hope that you all have succeeded. So let me start off with some of the requirements of the 2-room Flexi BTO application. So there are actually quite a few schemes that are covering this 2-room Flexi BTO applicants, and let's go through some of them right now. Firstly, let's start with the orphan scheme. The condition is that you and your siblings must be single, and by single that means you are not married, divorced or widowed, and at least one of the deceased parents must be a Singapore citizen or Singapore permanent resident. And you have to note that under the orphan scheme, siblings cannot buy or rent flats separately. Next up is the single Singapore citizen scheme. So for this scheme, I think it's quite popular right now because there are more people that are single and not getting married after reaching the age of 35. The condition is that you must be a first timer and you must be single, that means unmarried, divorced or widowed, and eligible for 2-room flat in a non-mature estate. Right, so I stress again, it must be a non-mature estate. So that likely means that you are further away from the city, but does not mean that you will lack in amenities depending on the site that you choose. Okay, next up is the non-citizen spouse scheme. One of the applicant must be a Singapore citizen, and then you have a spouse who is not a Singapore citizen or not a Singapore permanent resident, but your spouse must be holding at least a long-term visit pass or a work pass at the time of your flat application. Also similarly, you are only eligible to apply for 2-room flexi flats in the non-mature estates. And then lastly is the joint single schemes. That means you and up to 3 other singles who are unmarried, divorced or widowed can jointly apply for a flat together, but all of you must be Singapore citizens and above the age of 35. But still, you all can only apply for 2-room flexi flats in non-mature estates, which kind of makes no sense because if all of you are above the age of 35, you all can apply for your own flats in different estates. So really, it's a very small target group. And of course, if you are a senior citizen who is looking to downsize your flat because your children may already move out and you don't want to live in such a big flat because it is difficult to maintain, or you just want to free up some retirement funds after downsizing from a bigger flat to a smaller flat, then this 2-room flexi flat is also for you as well. And for senior citizens, you can apply for 2-room flexi in any location, including mature estates, so that you can also be near to your kids. And of course, for senior citizens above the age of 55, you all can select a short-term lease between 15 to 45 years, but you have to make sure that this lease at least can cover you up to the age of 95. So of course, the shorter the lease, the less amount you have to pay for the flat because it is up to a short-term lease. And there are some income requirements for this 2-room Flexi BTO. Like for singles, right, you have an income ceiling of $7,000 per household for those on a 99-year lease. And then for the short-term lease between 15 to 45 years, you have an income ceiling of $14,000. Now, why the difference, you may ask, is because as a single above the age of 35, if you are earning well above $7,000 per month, then most likely you can at least afford a small studio, private apartment for your own stay. But for senior citizens who may be considering between the 15 to 45 years lease, then maybe they may still be working at that point in time, and you have a combined income of 2 working adults. And because of the age, right, they may be a very high paid person. So that's why the 14k income ceiling is to make sure that these senior citizens are also eligible to apply for such 2-room BTO flats. Alright, as usual, we'll go through 2 very important sources of data. Number 1, HDB source of website. That is where the BTO information is displayed. At this point in time, for the pre-analysis, we definitely don't have a lot of information, but we'll just make do with what we have. And number 2 is the Google Maps. As long as we know the location, at least we can go and analyze the surroundings in terms of the amenities and the neighborhood to see what it offers and whether you really want to apply for that location. And if you have came here after you watched my official analysis video, then welcome, because I will take you through the location analysis that is not discussed in my official analysis video launched in November. So with all that said, let's go on to the sources of data. Let's go. Alright, so here is the official Housing Development Board for the 2021 November BTO exercise, and let's take a look at which are the projects that are eligible for 2-room flexi flats. So you can see here we have Choa Chu Kang with the 2-room flexi flats. We have Kallang Whampoa next for the 2-room flexi, and then for the 2 Tengah sites, they also have the 2-room flexi flats. So this time around, we have 3 locations: Choa Chu Kang, Kallang, and Tengah. Now for Kallang and Tengah, I will cover them in a separate video, so please do look out for my HDB property playlist and study the site map and location in that video. But for the purpose of today's video, I just want to go through the Choa Chu Kang site map, right, and go through the details of it. So you see, Choa Chu Kang is a very small site. We only have 60 flats allocated for the 2-room flexi this time round. So you can see it's really a very small site, okay? But let's see what the site map gives us, right? And let's start with where the MRT is, because that's the focus of today's site map. You see, we have UT MRT station. So Choa Chu Kang BTO this time is not beside Choa Chu Kang MRT station, but it's right smack at UT MRT station. Okay, if we look at this distance, it's definitely within walking distance. I would say less than 100 meters and 5 minutes walk to the MRT station. So this is really as close as you could get for a 2-room flexi flat. There is so close to an MRT station. And then there are even more details here. See, we have proposed residential development with integrated polyclinic, kidney dialysis center, hawker center, and community club. So it's really very good for the integrated facility. Now, if you haven't watched my earlier videos, right, I talk about this in my Telok Blangah Beacon and Toh Guan Grove. So these 2 earlier projects actually have integrated facilities. So they have like the supermarket, hawker centers, all within the same HDB estate. And this time, Choa Chu Kang is the lucky one, because the flats will be built above such proposed residential development. So downstairs, they will have all these facilities and the amenities that you need, right? And then on top, they will build your flats. Now, this is a very good thing, because why? Firstly, it is convenient for you if you need such services, especially healthcare and food options and community club, right? All these are quite essential services that you need. Now, the second good thing is you don't have any low floors, right? You see, when we choose flats, as Asians, we tend to choose the higher floors because we want to have a good view, we want to be away from the ground, and then maybe away from the hustle and bustle from the people walking on the ground, right? So having a mixed integrated development at the lower floors actually can help to ensure that the lowest floors of your flats are at least 4 to 5 stories already. So we don't have second floor, we don't have third floor, because all these are used for commercial purposes or for the hawker center purposes. But one thing to be cautious of is hawker center, right? Because hawker center, what does that mean? That means there will be a lot of food waste. There will be a lot of insects and rats and pigeons, which are pests, right? Because they need to feed on this food, the leftovers, and of course the exhaust fumes from the hawker center's kitchen, right? The oil, the fumes, and then the wastewater and all that attracts the pests. So that may be something that you want to take note of, but we can't really see right here in this site map. When we get to the official map analysis during the November launch, then I'll go through that in more detail. Okay, but what else we can see here is we have a shopping center called UT Point, and then we have UT Square. Later we'll take a look at what are these 2 malls about. Okay, and then nearby we have UT Park. So that's your nearest neighborhood park. We also have Stagmont Park. For schools wise, we have Unity Secondary School. We have Kranji Primary School at MK Kranji. We have De La Salle School right here. And we have an existing UT Community Club / Choa Chu Kang Neighborhood Police Center right here at the southern region. Okay, if you will go even further, we have UT Primary School here and Regent Secondary School here. But for most people applying for 2-room flats, I don't think you will have kids that are going to primary schools, right? Because I think if you want to start up a family, 2-room is definitely too small for you. Okay, if you want to jog along the park connector, then you'll be delighted that you have this park connector connecting the Choa Chu Kang all the way to this Sungai Pangsua. I don't know how to pronounce, I think I totally butchered it. Okay, but at least it's either a longkang or a river. Okay, and then we also have a sports center here. So that's likely a stadium and maybe a public gym that you can go to. We'll check out the Google Maps later. Okay, if we zoom out of the map even further, we have a little more shopping center right here called Limbang Shopping Center. Quite sure what is it. We also have Kranji Secondary School, and then you can see all the way to here we have Kranji Expressway. So that's your another major expressway, right? It should be within a 5 minutes drive from your housing estate all the way to Kranji Expressway, and that will lead you to the SLE or the PIE at the south. Something to note that there is also a new SAFRA clubhouse right here under construction. So for SAFRA members, you will be delighted that at least you have a SAFRA club nearby. And moving further to the south, we then have Choa Chu Kang MRT station and LRT station, and that's where your other shopping mall called Lot 1 Shoppers Mall, that's under CapitaLand Malls. And that's about it for the site map. I think UT is really a small town on its own. At least you all have a shopping mall and a UT square and a few schools all around, right? So it will be a really good neighborhood for singles and elders to live in. Now for application rates for the past BTO, there were no BTO past projects in the last 1 year, so we cannot take reference from anywhere. And let's move on to the Google Map analysis. Alright, so here is the town map of Choa Chu Kang, but your BTO is actually at UT, okay? So let's go to UT MRT station. Here it is, UT, okay? And this will be where your project site is, okay? Okay, you see this bare piece of land? Okay, let's have a satellite view. Okay, right now it's a bare piece of land, and this will be constructed to be your 2-room Flexi BTO flats with the integrated developments that we talk about. Okay, and then over here is your UT point, and here is your UT square. Okay, let's switch back to the normal map. Okay, so UT point is a neighborhood shopping mall. That's where you have all your restaurants, your fast food restaurants, your tuition centers, your supermarket, and then some small eateries, and even a private apartment called UT Residences. Okay, right opposite you have UT Square. This is more like a neighborhood shopping mall, and that's where your UT Market is. So you want to do some wet market grocery shopping, okay, you can go to UT Market, can get your fresh produce out there. And then there's even My CK department store. That's where you can buy some really cheap clothing and daily essentials, right? CK department store, I think Singaporeans are very familiar with this. We have Kopitiams. So Kopitiam is a food court, and you can get 10% if you use their membership card. And then of course, how can we forget the UT MRT station? If you look at the distance here, it's just within 50 meters to 100 meters walk. So less than 5 minutes you can reach UT MRT easily. So transportation is definitely well covered, but if you don't like staying in the northwest area, if you think this area is too far flung from the city, then it's definitely not for you, right? Because UT is really not at the central, okay? If you look at Singapore Central to be here, then UT is like so far away unless you drive, and you're probably even nearer to Johor Bahru, Malaysia than to the city center, right? You see, if you're up north here, it's just like less than 10 kilometers you can reach the Woodlands checkpoint, but it takes like more than 30 kilometers to reach the city center. Okay, supermarket wise, definitely you have this NTUC Fair Price, which is a very local grocery chain. Fair Price at UT Point under Fraser Centre Point Mall. And then there's another food court here, Kofu. So really not lacking in food options. You have fast food options, you have kopitiam food options. There's also another food court here called My Family. I'm not sure it's really there because there's no reviews over that. And then just walking distance, you have your UT Park. That's where you can have a running track as well as a UT basketball court. Okay, and let's take a look at the park, how it looks like. Okay, full of trees. Can have a little running track here for your exercise or walking your dog. And then for driver friends, if you want to drive to the nearest expressway, that will be KJE, and that's definitely within a 5 minutes drive. You can reach KJE easily. So KJE will connect you to other expressway like BKE and PIE at the end if you want to go by the second link to Malaysia. Okay, so that's really about it for this Choa Chu Kang BTO. There's really not much to talk about because it's a really small town, right? But at least you have a shopping mall nearby within walking distance, and in fact it's just right next to your BTO. Now, if you really want a good view, then I would suggest you to take somewhere facing the west, because over here at the west is a military camp, and military camps usually they are not very high in heights, right? But you know the thing about facing the west is you will have problems of the west sun, because the sun setting in the west, that is when it will be the hottest, and if it shines through the walls and the doors, it will make your unit really hot. So you have to take that into consideration. Otherwise, I think all around you are quite high-rise buildings of BTO flats or older HDB flats that have been built earlier than you. So you're definitely the newest apartment by public housing. So my verdict for this BTO is, if you're a single or elderly person who does not really like to travel to town, you like to live in your small little neighborhood, and sometimes you just want to go to like neighborhood malls or even like Lot 1 Shoppers Mall just at Choa Chu Kang or Causeway Point at Woodlands, then I think this UT BTO for the 2-room flexi would really suit you, because you're away from all the hustle and bustle from the population density, which is more concentrated in the matured area of Singapore. But the bad thing is you are really far from the city central, right? Let's say if you want to meet your friends, have a cup of coffee and then catch up with some things, then you really have to travel quite far, you see. UT is really quite far away from the city center. So you need to expect really long commute time if you're staying at UT. And if your workplace is not near UT, definitely you need to spend a lot of time on the MRT traveling to and fro. So that's really the point you have to consider. But if you are retired, then I think UT is really perfect, right? Because you don't have to travel to work anymore. Or if you're working from home most of the time, then this will really suit you the best. Okay, so that's really my short analysis of how the UT BTO or the Choa Chu Kang 2-room Flexi BTO is about, and hope you really enjoy it and add value to your life. And if you found this useful, do comment a thank you in the comment section below. I'll greatly appreciate it, and let's get back to the video. Okay, so I hope the sitemap analysis has helped you a little to understand better around the Choa Chu Kang estate, especially around the UT MRT area. So with that, let me give you a price estimate of what I think the price will be around. For the 2-room flexi flats, I guess the price range will be between 100k to 150k. This is what I benchmarked from the Tengah 2-room flexi flats as well. But because you don't have a past BTO in the last 12 months, this estimate may be a bit off. So just take it as a form of guidance and then see what is the official price when the details are released in the official BTO launch. And let's have a name guess for fun. Let's call this UT Glade and see whether the name is really what it is when it's officially launched. Alright, so I hope all this BTO analysis has helped you in planning for your BTO application. And please remember to help me like this video at the bottom. It just takes 1 second for you to do it. And consider subscribing to my channel if you have found my BTO and Singapore property content useful. Also, do join us over at the Honey Money Telegram community group right here at this link. My name is Christopher. This is Honey Money SG, steering young adults to financial independence.